In 2018, a company released a video of their revolutionary new semi-truck driving smoothly down a highway, the future of transportation. Investors valued it at $30 billion. There was just one problem. The truck wasn't driving. It was rolling downhill, using gravity. They pushed it to the top of a hill and let physics do the rest. The founder called it Nikola One in motion. He promised it was fully functioning. He showed it to investors. He showed it to General Motors. GM was so impressed, they agreed to buy 11% of the company for $20 billion for a truck that couldn't move on its own power. Then a short seller named Hindenburg Research published a report. They had the receipts. The video was fake. The truck was dead. The whole company was a fraud. And the man who built this house of lies, he's now in federal prison. This is the story of Nikola and Trevor Milton. But before we get to the fraud, you need to understand why anyone believed this in the first place. Because the Nikola story didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened during the greatest hype cycle in automotive history, the rise of Tesla. By 2020, Tesla was worth more than every other car company combined. Investors were desperate to find the next Tesla. They didn't care about profits. They didn't care about production. They cared about the story. And Trevor Milton was a very good storyteller. Trevor Milton was born in 1982 in Utah. He was raised Mormon. He was a natural salesman. He'd been starting companies since he was a teenager. But here's the pattern you need to see. Before Nikola, Trevor Milton was sued multiple times for fraud by his own family. His own brother Inlaw sued him for defrauding investors in a previous company. The case was settled out of court, no admission of guilt, but the pattern was established. Trevor Milton made big promises, took money, and when things fell apart, he moved on to the next thing. In 2014, Trevor Milton founded Nikola Motor Company, named after Nikola Tesla, the inventor. Yes, the same person Tesla, the car company, is named after. The audacity was immediate. He was positioning himself as the next Elon Musk. Trevor's pitch was brilliant in its simplicity. Tesla made electric cars. But what about trucks? Semi-trucks. The 18-wheelers that move everything in America. What if someone could make those electric, or even better, powered by hydrogen? Zero emissions, unlimited range. The trucking industry is massive. It moves 70% of all freight in America. And it's incredibly dirty. Trucks produce a huge share of transportation emissions. If you could crack zero-emission trucking, you wouldn't just be building a company, you'd be saving the planet. December 2016. Trevor Milton unveiled the Nikola One, a gorgeous semi-truck with a revolutionary hydrogen fuel cell system. He claimed it had 1,000 horsepower. He claimed it could go 1,200 miles on a single tank. He claimed it was fully functioning. The truck was beautiful. Sleek, futuristic. It looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. There was just one problem. It didn't work. The Nikola One that Trevor Milton unveiled had no engine, no fuel cells, no working powertrain. It was a shell. The unveiling video showed the truck's dashboard lighting up, screens glowing, systems appearing to come alive. How did they do that without a working powertrain? They plugged the truck into the wall. The building's electrical outlet powered the display. But Trevor Milton had his story, and he told it with absolute conviction. He wasn't just selling a truck. He was selling a vision, a future, a revolution. And in 2020, investors were so hungry for the next Tesla that they didn't ask basic questions, like, does the truck actually work? June 2020, Nikola went public through a SPAC merger, a shortcut to the stock market that required less scrutiny than a traditional IPO. Day 1, the stock soared. Within weeks, Nikola was worth $30 billion. More than Ford. Let me repeat that. A company with no working product was worth more than Ford. Trevor Milton became a billionaire. On paper, his stake was worth $8 billion. He bought a massive ranch in Utah. He talked about building a hydrogen network across America. He was living the dream on stock value alone, without selling a single truck. Then came the validation that seemed to prove everything. September 2020, General Motors, one of the oldest, most respected car companies in the world, announced a partnership with Nikola. GM would take an 11% stake. GM would help build the trucks. GM would lend its credibility. Think about what GM was endorsing. This wasn't some tech investor making a bet. This was a company that has been building vehicles for over 100 years. They have engineers. They have testing facilities. They have experts. And somehow, they didn't see the fraud either. The stock went even higher after the GM deal. Trevor Milton was untouchable. He did interviews with complete confidence. He attacked anyone who questioned him. He threatened short sellers with lawsuits. He was bulletproof. Now we need to talk about the video, the Nikola One in Motion video that launched everything. Trevor Milton claimed this video showed a fully functioning hydrogen truck driving on its own power. Here's what it actually showed. The road wasn't flat. It was a 2-mile downhill slope. The truck wasn't driving. It was coasting, using the only power source available, gravity. Before filming, the truck was towed to the top of the hill. It couldn't get there on its own power because, again, it had no working powertrain. They positioned it, probably checked the camera angles, and let it roll. $30 billion of value, created by gravity. Now to be clear, some Nikola employees later said the company never explicitly claimed the truck was moving under its own power. They said the video just showed it in motion. This is technically true. The truck was in motion, gravity was moving it. But Trevor Milton did claim the truck was fully functional. In multiple interviews, in investor presentations, he described capabilities the truck didn't have. He wasn't just letting people assume. He was actively lying. And it gets worse. In investor presentations, Nikola showed a video of a working fuel cell system powering a truck. The system wasn't made by Nikola. They had bought it from another company and passed it off as their own technology. The solar panels on the Nikola headquarters. Fake too. They were glued on, not connected to anything. The whole company was starting to look like a movie set. Impressive facades hiding nothing. The 10th of September 2020, a financial research firm called Hindenburg Research published a report titled Nikola: How to Parlay an Ocean of Lies into a Partnership with the Largest Auto OEM in America. They had done what GM apparently didn't. Basic due diligence. The Hindenburg Report was devastating. They had found the hill. They had tracked down the filming location. They had proven, with satellite imagery and topographical data, that the Nikola One in Motion video was filmed on a downhill slope. The truck rolled. It didn't drive. They found employees willing to talk. Former engineers who confirmed. The Nikola One was a shell. It never worked. The company knew it. Trevor Milton knew it. And they raised billions of dollars anyway. The report contained dozens of allegations. The rolling truck. The fake solar panels. The purchased technology. Misrepresentations to investors. The company's response. They called Hindenburg short sellers trying to manipulate the stock. They threatened lawsuits. They denied everything. Wall Street started asking questions. The stock began to fall. And then the dominoes really started falling. The 20th of September 2020, just 10 days after the report, Trevor Milton resigned as executive chairman. He said he wanted to focus on defending himself. General Motors quietly renegotiated their deal. The $2 billion stake? Gone. The promise to build Nikola's trucks? Reduced dramatically. GM had seen the evidence and was backing away slowly, trying not to get any more fraud on their shoes. The SEC started investigating. The Department of Justice started investigating. Federal prosecutors were looking at everything Trevor Milton had said publicly and comparing it to what was actually true. The gap was enormous. The stock that had hit $65 at its peak, it collapsed, fell below $3, 95% of the value. Evaporated. Investors who bought the hype lost almost everything. July 2021. Trevor Milton was indicted on 3 federal charges. Securities fraud. Wire fraud. 2 counts of wire fraud, actually. He had lied to investors about almost everything. The truck's capabilities, the technology, the company's progress. All of it, lies. Unlike Sam Bankman-Fried, Trevor Milton didn't see his inner circle turn on him. Unlike Elizabeth Holmes, he didn't have an ex-boyfriend testifying against him, but he did have something worse. Himself. On video. Making claims that were provably false. October 2022. After a 4-week trial, The jury deliberated for about 7 hours. The verdict: guilty. On all 3 counts. Securities fraud. Wire fraud again. December 2023. Sentencing day. Prosecutors wanted 11 years. Trevor Milton's lawyers argued for probation. The judge gave him 4 years in federal prison. Plus, he has to pay back $8 million in restitution. 4 years. For defrauding investors out of billions. For building a company on lies. For that gravity-powered video that fooled General Motors and Wall Street. Some might say he got off light. What about Nikola the company? Somehow, it's still alive. Still publicly traded. Still trying to build electric and hydrogen trucks. The stock is around $2. It limps on without its founder, trying to become a real company. The investors who bought at $65, they're not recovering. The employees who believed in the mission, many left with nothing but a story about the time they worked at a fraud factory. The retail investors who saw the next Tesla, they were the exit liquidity for insiders. Hindenburg Research, they made a fortune. Short sellers profit when stocks fall. By publishing the truth and betting against Nikola, they earned millions. In this case, the financial incentive aligned with public service. So what are the lessons? First, physics doesn't lie. You can fake a pitch deck. You can fake enthusiasm. You can fake a product demo. But you can't fake gravity. The truck that rolled downhill told the truth even when the company didn't. Second, due diligence isn't optional. Even for General Motors, 100 years of automotive expertise couldn't spot a truck with no engine. Either GM was negligent, or they wanted to believe so badly that they didn't look. Neither is acceptable. Third, FOMO is the enemy of diligence. Investors were so desperate to find the next Tesla that they funded a company whose main product was a gravity-powered truck. The fear of missing out made them skip basic questions. Fourth, short sellers serve a purpose. Hindenburg Research did what the SEC, the auditors, and General Motors failed to do. They checked if the truck worked. Sometimes the people betting against companies are the only ones asking real questions. And fifth, the sentence was 4 years. For billions in fraud. Compare that to someone who sells drugs or robs a convenience store. White-collar crime continues to be punished less severely than other crimes that cause less harm. The system has priorities, and they're not about damage done. A truck that couldn't move. A video powered by gravity. A $30 billion company built on a hill. And a founder who now has 4 years to think about the difference between a pitch and a lie. But here's the uncomfortable question. How many other gravity-powered trucks are there right now? How many companies are showing videos of products that don't work? How many investors are too afraid of missing out to ask basic questions? The next Nikola is raising money right now. Probably has a great video. Probably has impressive partnerships. Probably has a founder who seems confident and visionary. The question is, who's going to check if it actually works? What goes up must come down. That's physics. Nikola's truck proved it. The only way it could move was down. And eventually, so did the stock. So did the valuation. So did Trevor Milton himself. The downfall. 4 empires. 4 falls. WeWork couldn't make money renting desks. Theranos couldn't test blood with a drop. FTX couldn't stop stealing customer funds. And Nikola couldn't make a truck that moved. This was the downfall, where every empire falls. And we show you exactly how it happens. If you want to see past the pitch decks and press releases, subscribe. Because the next collapse is already being built. On a very impressive hill, the downfall. Subscribe now. Gravity always wins.